Hello there, friend! Welcome to the fire. When red flags start piling up like ants on sugar, it's probably time to cut your losses, like in this following story. Getting kicked before session 1 due to being overly emotional, after DM takes control of my character's creation. r/RPG horror stories, posted by actual_willingness60. This happened last summer, but chatting with my current group about my dice goblin habits reminded me of this, so here's the story of my first D&D session. If you could call it that. Sorry if stuff's difficult to understand, / stuff got mixed up or anything. It feels like I dodged a bullet looking back at the amount of bull here, honestly. The actual campaign probably would have soured TTRPGs for me. Anyway, here's the story of the Session 0 where I got kicked afterwards. So, important to note, I'm a trans guy, but wasn't comfortable enough at the time to come out to anyone IRL yet. Everyone here would have seen me as a gal. Everyone else was a cisgender guy. At least, that I'm aware of. So, a friend at the time, henceforth sorcerer since that was the class he wanted, messaged me asking did I want to join a D&D campaign his friends was gonna be playing. I knew none of these people, but was happy enough to go ahead with it. All new players, and it was the DM's first time DMing, but was experienced at playing the game. I'm also a first-time player, but I've been looking into the hobby for years and been struggling to find a group. I had some knowledge of character creation and some of the other rules. He planned on running Curse of Strahd, having played it previously and knowing it somewhat well. We were told to read up on stuff to have a character concept in mind, but would have a session 0 to smooth anything out. So I made a character concept. A fire Chinanzi arcane trickster, a general troublemaker vibe, but not too over the top. I wanted to have a character that would bring some humor and life to what I knew to be a dark, gritty setting. I messaged the DM privately about Chinanzi being allowed, and he gave the go-ahead. So the Saturday of Session 0 comes around. I'm one of the first players to arrive, along with Sorcerer. We had traveled together. I ran my character past the DM before the others arrived and was given the go-ahead that it was fine. That was until one of his friends arrived. Rogue. Rogue had no plans for his character, and after flipping through the DM's handbook, he decides that he wants to run an assassin. Cue Red Flag 1. Despite being given the go-ahead of my character already, I'm suddenly not allowed to play him because Rogue wants one, despite me having pre-planned like being asked and there being no issues with double ups on classes. It was a group of 6 with pretty diverse class choices otherwise. The DM refused to allow my arcane trickster and told me to make another character. Not really sure anymore what's going on, but still wanting to play, I obliged. Rolled up a bard using pretty much the same basis of my rogue, who was still a chaotic Chinanzi wanting to bring humor, just swapped some stat numbers around and changed the spell page to better fit the class. When it came to approving the bard, the DM had issues with my spell list. I was more focused on roleplay and utility with few options for damage. Produce Flame from Gananzi and Thunderwave being the only spells that dealt damage. This led to a disagreement about how I'm building my character wrong, and that I needed to take certain spells instead. Both cantrips, 4 of 6 spells to be swapped out for his list of better spells. I didn't want to argue too much, he's the DM, it was his rules. Some of the other spellcasters also had their spell list slightly modified by the DM. The Sorcerer had one spell changed, and Cleric was asked not to take Mending, but nothing to the extent of my Bard. It was disheartening to say the least, my character being stripped completely from under me. Oh, and one final thing, I had made my Gananzi a guy, due to me, well, being one. Throughout the spell list stuff, the DM referred to my character as she. Constantly. I corrected a few times, but got ignored. He ran us introducing our characters once everything was done. Characters in a tavern. I'm the fourth to be introduced, so I introduced my bard, making it clear that he's a he.
No, she's a she. You're a girl. You can't play a guy.
That pretty much broke me. Honestly, after various shit with my character to not being allowed this one thing, I should have quit way earlier. But hindsight. I won't go too much into the game, but it ran for about an hour and a bit until things finished up. I did contribute, but not exactly wholeheartedly. Broke up for the day with the promise that an adventure awaited. Fast forward to Sunday morning. Got a message from the DM saying that I'm not welcome back due to being too emotional and not knowing how I'm supposed to play. Got removed from the group chat and unfriended. The explanation the group got, according to the DM, was just a bunch of sexist remarks about how girls shouldn't be allowed to play D&D. The sorcerer spared me the details as he still went on to play in the campaign for 7 months, before it died when study for the final year exams was pushed on them. He doesn't regret it, and I kinda cut him off after that. We were drifting apart anyway. Oh, and also my bard got turned into a werewolf in the first actual session of the game, with the party forced to put her down, cause that's fun for the DM, I guess. Anyway, despite all of this, I found a D&D group a few months after entering university. I was a year ahead of the other people, and, well, it's been the absolute best. Went with a male wood elf bard, which was respected even before I came out as trans to them, which they were also hella okay with. So hey, happy end here, I guess. Anyway, sorry for this being long and rambling, just wanted to share. Oh, I can't play the opposite gender? Really? Then no one else should be able to play, an elf, a dwarf, a half-orc, or anything else because we're all human. Seriously, it's the role-playing part in tabletop role-playing games. Yeah. And also, purposely misgendering someone? That's such a passive-aggressive a-hole move to make. It's just pure garbage mentality. And don't even get me started on the whole situation where OP did everything that was previously requested of them ahead of time, getting approval of it, and then having to redo everything because the DM's friend, who was unprepared and didn't do anything, wanted to play a rogue as well. That's just total bullshit. It honestly makes me mad. It's like giving someone a present and then taking away to give to someone else 5 minutes later. And then on top of all that mess, having to change up their spell list because it wasn't to the DM's liking? Ugh. OP definitely dodged a bullet here by not having their time wasted with a transphobic and sexist DM. And it's also so disappointing that their friend didn't back them up. While I understand that peer pressure can be difficult, but still, really, stand up for your friends, especially in situations like this. I am glad to hear, though, that OP was able to find a better group in the end. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. And would you kindly follow the socials posted in the description below. As always, be good, be great, be awesome.